Hello, good evening, everyone. Hello, my YouTube babies. How are you all? I'm waiting here for you to join. I'm here with again a paper one live revision series. So, how are you all? How is the studies going on? Good evening, good evening. So, a happy Onam, everyone. Kerala, we celebrate in Kerala, not really. Usually, Malayalis, we celebrate Onam. So, behalf of Vallath, happy Onam to everyone. Yes. How are you all? Can we just start the revision? Yes, today we are going with the uh, research aptitude. So we learn some questions regarding the research aptitude part. It's a revision series of research aptitude. Can we go? Yeah. Good evening, Logish. First message in the YouTube. Yeah. Now can I go the questions? One by one we'll go. Yeah. First question. The primary aim of a research problem is to define the population of study, identify the gap in existing knowledge, ensure replication of prior studies, prove a preconceived idea. So, the primary aim of a research problem. Yes, hello, Rudra. Yes, your answers. Everyone, I can chat in the chat box. Your answers. So the answer will be identifying the gap in existing knowledge. Okay. Primary aim of a research problem is to identify the gaps in the existing knowledge. That's what. Okay. So it's not ensuring the replication of prior studies or defining the population of a study. It's all like steps of research what we have. Population of study, defining the population of study. So the main aim of a research problem is to identify the gap in the existing knowledge. Next one. When a researcher manipulates one variable to observe its effect on another, the manipulated variable is called. So is it dependent variable? Is it independent variable? Or is it extraneous variable? Or is it confounding variable? So types of variables are very important in research aptitude at exam, also in other state level eligibility test exams, set exams and all. Yes, Sankini, good evening. I can see you. I can see your messages. Dependent, independent, extraneous, and confounding. So you're manipulating one variable. That means obviously there will be two variables with your research if you take for the study. So you manipulate one variable and you observe the effect of that manipulated variable on the another. So what do you call that manipulated variable? So that manipulated variable is called independent variable, not dependent. It is independent variable. Why? Because we are manipulating the independent variable and measuring the effect or observing its effect on the dependent variable. That is why it is called dependent. It is dependent on some factors, right? So that is why it is called a dependent variable. Clear? The answer is independent variable. So every time you should remember the manipulated variable is independent variable. Clear? Extraneous means it is an extra variable that is out of the concern of the researcher, or the researcher won't be considering a variable which will be there, but with the core study, the researcher won't be considering it. And confounding variable is a variable which creates confusions with the study. Okay, that's what confounding variables are. Next one. Which type of research encourages participants' perspective? That means participants. And it means like the researcher will be there, or the researchers, the sample will be there. So that is why. That is the way you can understand this question. Which type of research encourages the sample's perspective also? So ethnographic, historical, exegetic, and experimental. Which is the answer that you have, guys? Ethnographic, historical, exegetic, and experimental research. Yes, exactly. Your answers are very correct. It's ethnographic research, where ethnographic research is a type of research where we study about the culture of a specific group or area or something like that. Ethnographic research. Okay, so then obviously it encourages the participants' perspective, right? So that is the answer. So next one. When the population is divided into homogeneous groups and samples are drawn from each group, it is what? Stratified sampling, cluster sampling, quota sampling, purposive sampling. So we should read the question: divided into homogeneous groups, and then the samples are drawn from each group. Is it stratified? Is it cluster, quota, purposive? Sampling, it should be very clear. There will be a short question from the sampling part. Last time they didn't ask, but this time we can expect a question from the sampling part. Yes, the answers. Very good. Stratified sampling. So stratified sampling is actually what you divide the entire population into homogeneous groups. Okay, for example, you want to study about maybe a gender discrimination or a gender biasing in a company or among the employees in a company. You like the random method won't work out because there will be a biasing again in the sampling. So actually what you want to do, you should divide them into two groups called male and female, and then again divide or like other any if any other gender present, that's what, and then select from all those groups, then only the study will be effective. That is what stratified. Cluster is actually the population may or may not exist in groups. Okay, for example, like every time when I take classes, I'll tell them that the example Vallath have 10 centers. Imagine that Vallath have 10 centers across India. So if I want to study about the emotional intelligence of or anything like that, emotional dependence or interdependence of Vallath students, I want to select three centers. I'm going to select students from three centers. So I select as a cluster. Maybe like I select from Trivandrum, I select a center from Trivandrum. Then I select center from Ernakulam, and then select a center in Bangalore or something like that. Okay, just imagination. But now we have centers at Trivandrum and Ernakulam. Let it be there more in India in coming years. We can pray for that. So that is what, and work hard for that. And so see, that's what. So that is cluster sampling. Quota sampling is actually related to stratified, but you fix a specific quota for from the groups are selected. See, for example, if you can think of the admission procedures, like whatever number applies, the general merit goes for only this much people, like only 30 people will be selected. And from the community merit or something like that, this much people. So that quota is fixed. A minimum number is or a maximum number is fixed for a quota sampling, guys. Quota sampling groups or sampling patterns. Purposive sampling is actually what you have is you select a specific according to the specific characteristics of your research. For example, if I want to select differently abled from a classroom or a school, I only select that type of people. That is what you call as purposive sampling. Okay. Why I explained all those samplings in detail? Because sampling is a very important topic. You can get questions from sampling. The next question. When the researcher repeats a study under the same conditions to verify results, the process is called. That means already the researcher conducted a study, but under the same condition to verify the result again. The researcher is repeating it. So what do you mean? What do you call that? So what is the process that you call this? Validation, replication, generalization, or triangulation? It's easy. Like when from the words you can get the answer. Just by reading the words you can get the answer. It's not validation actually. Yes. Yeah, it is called replication. It is called replication. That is the answer. Next question. Which of the following is not a characteristic of a well-structured thesis statement? Okay, we'll have a thesis statement whenever we have a research. We have a thesis statement. So in that thesis statement, which is not a characteristics of that well-structured thesis statement. Okay, it is concise and specific. It presents the main argument of the paper. It contains statistical data. It is placed at the end of the introduction. So what is the answer, guys? Statement, structure or structured thesis statement. Here everybody is telling that is placed at the end of the introduction. It is the answer. Obviously not. It contains statistical data is not a characteristics. Obviously, a thesis statement won't be having a statistical data because after the analysis only we'll be having a thesis state. Sorry, the no, we'll have a statistical data. Before analyzing, we won't be having. And towards the end of the introduction only, it is placed. We have an introduction part in the thesis or research part where we write, and after towards the end of the introduction part, we have this thesis statement, not at the beginning. Okay, so that's what that is a criteria. So the answer here is it contains statistical data, does not contain statistical data in a structured thesis statement. Next one. Which referencing style uses numerical citation within square brackets? So you need to know citations in a very detailed manner, then only you can answer this. Different styles, different referencing styles you should know. And in paper 2 also you will study this research methodology of each concerned subject also you will study. There you will come across this reference styling also. So that's very important that you study this reference styling. Harvard, MLA, Chicago, and Vancouver. Numerical citations within square brackets. I think if you're familiar with, you'll be familiar with MLA. Yes. Answers? The answer is Vancouver. MLA, basically, they don't use square brackets for numerical citations. They just write the numerical citation. That means maybe with the years and all. Vancouver is the referencing style that uses the numerical citations within the square brackets. Okay, Vancouver. So next question. In hypothesis testing, the probability of rejecting a true null hypothesis is called. Is it the power of the test? Is it type 1 error? Is it type 2 error? Is it significance level? So type 1 and type 2 errors, the errors and misconducts of research is very important topic. So you should study what is type 1, type 2 errors. That's very important. So in hypothesis testing, you are rejecting a true null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is true and you are rejecting that. Which is that? Is it type 1 or is it type 2? Power of the test, obviously, you can eliminate, and significance level also you can eliminate because the answer goes with type 1 and type 2 errors. It is errors actually. Yes, the answers, I can get the answer from the chat box. It's correct only. It is type 1 error. So rejecting a null hypothesis is true null hypothesis is type 1 error. Next one. Which of the following is directly related to action research? Longitudinal research? No, it's not obviously. Longitudinal is a different kind of research. A research with socio-economic objective, a research initiated to solve an immediate problem, and applied research. Action and applied is very different. Action, action research is to solve an immediate problem. Applied research is to solve a practical problem, not an immediate one, practical problem. And regarding with action, it is continuous. Okay, like we find a result and then we apply, and if it is not satisfactory, we apply it again, or we find the solutions again with a different manner. So that is what you call as action research. So which is the answer for this, guys? Is it option A, option B, option C, or option D? A research initiated to solve an immediate problem. That is the answer. C is the answer. Very good. So that is the one that is directly related to the action research. A research initiated to solve an immediate problem. Very good. Next one. If a researcher conducts a research on finding out which administrative style contributes more to institutional effectiveness, this will be an example of basic research, action research, experimental research, and applied research. That means conducts a research on finding which administrative style contributes more to the institutional, any of the institutional effectiveness. So what will be your answer? Is it basic research? No, obviously it won't be a basic. Basic is actually like you conduct a research for just expanding your knowledge. Fundamental research. It is also called fundamental research or pure research. Is it experimental? It's actually applied research where, it is finding a solution to a practical problem, right? That means a problem is practical problem is institutional effectiveness and finding a solution for that. That is applied. It's not experimental actually. Experimental we can have no when there is a cause and effect relationship when you exhibit. That is where you have experimental relationship or experimental research. The answer is applied research. Okay. Focus more on types of research. It is very important. Types of research they can ask. The research design that follows subjects over a long period to observe changes is called. Okay, this type of research is very important, as I told you. So you focus on a topic and then you observe it for a long period of time. Changes, you observe it for a long period of time. For example, maybe the effect of a sunscreen by a company. See, that's what. So it's very important that you observe it for a long period of time. So is it cross-sectionally or is it longitudinal or is it case study or is it experimental design? Yeah, the answer is longitudinal design because longitudinal design focuses or observes the changes for the long period of time. This is the research design. I told you longitudinal research, it is a different type. It observes or follows the subjects over a long period to observe changes. Longitudinal. And next question. Ethical research practice requires fabrication of data if required, voluntary informed consent of participants withholding significant findings, ignoring privacy concerns. Ethical research. So, research ethics is an important topic in research aptitude. You should study that. That's very important. Maybe like with the misconducts of research, scientific misconducts of research. So that comes under the ethics part. The answer? Here the answer is actually, yeah, it is B only. Voluntary informed consent of participants. It is an ethical, like maybe like if you go and study about a specific culture of a tribal group, you need to get the informed consent of the participants, voluntary informed consent of the participants. You should take, that's what, it's a very important part. So that's, it's in the ethical research practice. A hypothesis that states there is no relationship between two variables is called null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, working hypothesis, or statistical hypothesis. See, there is no relationship between two variables, and this is very important. According to this, the testing of hypothesis, we like sometimes we make type 1, type 2 errors. We just discussed that. Yes, Angini, the keywords were there in the last question. That's what. Just go with the keywords here. Also, we have keywords. No relationship. It is actually, yeah, the answer is null hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis or original hypothesis what we have, or the working hypothesis what we have. Null hypothesis states that there is no relationship between two variables. That is just the contradictory part of our, or just the contradictory of our original hypothesis. Which method combines both qualitative and quantitative approaches within a single study? Very, very simple. The direct answer you can get it with. Which method combines both qualitative and quantitative approaches in a single study? Is it action? Is it a mixed method? Is it a ex post facto? Is it grounded theory? Obviously, the answer will be 2. It is a mixed method research because it have qualitative and quantitative in a single study, within a single study. There can be mixed method research also, okay? Yeah, correct. That's correct. Next one. A researcher wants to study the impact of online teaching methods on students' critical thinking while controlling for socioeconomic status. So here socioeconomic status acts as, is it independent, is it confounding, is it moderator, or is it mediator variable? That means the researcher wants to study the impact of an online teaching methods on the critical thinking of students. And now the socio-economic status should be controlled. Okay. That means what is that variable? Socio-economic status. Okay. It's actually the main two variables are online teaching and students critical thinking. Obviously, you can eliminate independent variable from there because independent variable you are manipulating. So impact of online teaching. So you will be manipulating the online teaching methods and finding the effect on students critical thinking. So students critical thinking will be dependent variable. Now, what is socio-economic status? It will be the moderator variable. That means a variable which comes No, it is in between the variables, two variables. There is socioeconomic status. Obviously, you want to control that. So that is socioeconomic status, that is moderator variable. Which sampling technique is most appropriate for estimating the prevalence of a rare disease? Rare disease. So comes under rare disease. Obviously, the population will be far unknown. So how will you, what is the sampling type that you will go with? Yes, the answers are correct. It is snowball sampling. That's type of sampling where you find it difficult to find the samples, but it is through referrals or reference you find samples. Like maybe you will be knowing one person of that kind or of your variable, and then you will ask that person, then that person will refer, and then it goes. So it adds up to add on to the sample part. That is what you call a snowball sampling. It is also called chain referral sampling and all. Okay. It is a non-probability technique, non-probability sampling technique. Which of the following research designs is least likely to establish cause-effect relationship? Okay, read the question, least likely. So when you see cause-effect relationship, don't go for experimental design, because cause-effect relationship, the research design is experimental design. But it is least likely to have, least likely to establish. So you can think of a research design which is not for cause and effect relationship. It is not for exhibiting cause and effect relationship. Okay, read the question twice or thrice. That's what. Don't jump into conclusions or answers. That's what. Yes, here experimental, quasi-experimental, and all. It's all experimental design, randomized, controlled trial. Controlled means it's like controlling experiments. Controlling is happening in the experiment, like in experimental designs. It is correlational design. Correlation research is meant for exhibiting relationship between two variables, not a cause and effect relationship, just relationship, not cause and effect relationship. Okay, that is what you call as correlation design. Which of the following is not a characteristics of qualitative research? Next question. Emergent design, subjective interpretation, hypothesis testing with large samples, contextual depth. Not the characteristics of qualitative research. Okay, answer. Which of the following is not a characteristics of qualitative research? Obviously, subjective interpretation is there, contextual depth is there, emergent design is also there. Obviously, hypothesis testing with large samples is not there with the qualitative research. Qualitative research, that's the answer. Yes, guys, so that was the end of the session. So I think it was informative and useful for you. So learn very well. Thank you. We'll meet with one more and like more and more revision